Hello, hello, hello. I am Sondra Louise, and life after the comma really does get better. Thank you so much for joining on this broadcast today. If you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you as part of the Life After the Comma tribe if you haven't subscribed already. So go ahead and do that for me, would you? All right. So today, it's been a couple of days since I've done a video, but to be perfectly honest, I really don't know what I'm going to focus on today. I just knew that I had to get on here. It's been several things that have been going on, and I've even had, a few conversations with different people over the past few days, um, and it just had me going, in several directions, and some good things have happened, and things worth celebrating, but in life things happen, and sometimes they're things that we um, weren't expecting. It's something how trauma and tragedies never schedule an appointment, they just seem to come up. And so when they do, the best place that we can find ourselves is in the comfort of a loving Father, which is our Father God, and knowing that we can depend upon Him. And in the times that we're in, that has to be the place where we run. I have, oh man, there's so many things that I want to talk about. But I will say that I was thinking on today about starting over. And when I first formed this YouTube channel, it was, as I said in previous videos, it was to document my journey after the comma, of my divorce and after a 30-year marriage. But I was thinking how, in life, and so many times in our lives, we define things based upon something that has happened. If it was a trauma, we kind of base everything off of that particular thing. But many times we don't think about all of the non traumatic things that happen between the trauma or between the incident or between whatever it was, and how there are so many things that when we shift our focus causes us to kind of see things from a different perspective. Where focus goes, energy flows. And it's true. You see it when you're driving. They tell you when you learn how to drive, keep your eye on the road. Why? Because they know that if you tend to look off of the road and you're looking at something else other than where you're going, you're going to veer off. And so it's important for us to keep our focus. And as long as you keep your focus, as long as you keep that goal in front of you, not dwelling on the past, the past is behind you, there's nothing you can do about that. But even in looking back, you have a rear view mirror, which is a lot smaller than your windshield. And that's for a reason, because the rear view mirror is there only for you to glance to see what's behind you, just to see it. just to see what's there, not to drive looking at it. And as long as we're doing that, as long as we're keeping our eye focused on our destination, where we're going, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. And something happens when our focus is going, in where we're going, that things show up. Things show up when we need them. Because when you have that vision of where you're going, and you've spent time with the Lord, you have been in His presence, that this is the thing. You may not have all the details, but for now, this is one foot in front of the other. You're just doing what's in front of you. That as long as you're doing that, everything you need is going to show up. It's going to show up. It has to. Because God will provide for every vision He gives you. That's where we get provision. It's God's providence in what He's given you to do. And don't worry about the fact that nobody else sees it but you. That's not an issue. That shouldn't even be your concern. What other people think about what God told you to do is not your business. Your business is to do the will of the Father. Jesus talked about that when they wanted Him to do different things. And I'm saying this, a lot of times I may say things and I've been like binge watching The Chosen. Okay, that's been my vice, okay? I've been binge watching The Chosen every chance I get. And at this point, I think I've seen all 4 seasons multiple times, okay? And one of the things that I love about that is that I was telling somebody the other day is the backstories that they tell. And it's not saying that that's exactly how it happened, but the way they present it, it makes everyone that we read about in the Bible human. Sometimes we tend to see, I don't know about, maybe you don't, but I know, or tend to see them as, as these super people, but they were men and women just like you and I. And they had problems just like you and I. And they walked with Him. But even the ones who walked with Him had issues with how, because they didn't understand what He was doing. And sometimes when we're in this walk with the Lord and we don't understand everything, we forget sometimes that this is a faith walk. And if we could see everything, we wouldn't need faith. And so what it does is put into perspective the fact that, I'm not going to understand everything. I'm not going to know everything. When God gives me something to do, all I know is I just have to do it. And if you yourself who have received this instruction, you've received the mandate to go forward, you've received that from the Lord, and even you get into places where you tend to doubt yourself. And maybe even times you doubt God. That if you find yourself in that position, there's going to be people who don't understand, who are going to ridicule and have something to say about what you're doing and how you're doing it and what you should and what you shouldn't be doing. But I tell you, just like I tell my daughter, I've told her before, when things have happened and people have said things, consider the source. because it's something how people who are doing nothing have so much to say about the people who are doing something. And you've probably seen a lot of that during the Olympics. You have people who criticize these Olympians who have trained their whole lives, for this moment, and they have something negative to say. And that always just cracks me up, because I'm like, okay, first of all, you couldn't do a pinch of what these people are doing, but you have room to criticize. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy to me. But I say that because you have to know your course and stay on it. You may fall 100 times, but if you fell 100 times, that guess what? That means you got up 100 times. That means you tried again 100 times. And you don't stop. You don't stop. What if the makers of Formula 409 stopped at Formula 408? What would have happened if Heinz 57 stopped at Heinz 56? You see what I'm saying? So the only thing that separates a failure from a winner is a try, where you just keep doing it over and over. You may have to start over. You will have to start over after every failure. But you know what you gain? Every time you fail, you learn something. There's a lesson in it. And that's the thing that we see in both of those examples I gave. When you see these Olympians, these people who excel in what they do, they did what was uncomfortable, what was inconvenient. Lisa Nichols says comfort and conviction don't live on the same block. It's true. They don't. But what happens is, when you have something inside of you that has to come out, you're going to get discouraged at times when you don't see things happening. But you know what? Every time you keep it moving, you are making it better for the people that you're sent to. The reason being is, if they can learn from your example, you save them all of the years, all the trouble, all of the heartache, whatever it costs you. That's what makes your pain purposeful, is when you can turn it into something beautiful that helps somebody else. So when I talk about what I went through, and this is something that I did today, is I thought about, okay, yeah, I had some hard times in that, but what struck me today and what I focused on today was all of the beauty in between. You see, even in my darkest times, I remember, and to this day it happens, in my darkest moments, I know that the Lord is with me. When I'm weeping before the Lord, when anytime I've had those moments where I had to just pour out before Him, it was in my weakness that His strength was made perfect. It was during the time when I was broken that the Lord was near to me. And I value His presence more than anything else. And there's something about the fact that when the Lord allows us to get into a place of brokenness, it's not that He orders the pain. It's not that He orders the situations that bring us to that place. No, He doesn't order that. He knew it was going to happen. And I guarantee you, if he allowed it to happen, it's because there's something bigger than what you and I can see at that moment. It's bigger than us. And I'm going to go back to my chosen references. That's one of the things that I've been noticing. The writers were just brilliant in the way they have portrayed um, Jesus's life during that time. Is that you see kind of like the backstories and how God actually does do things. The situation may not be exactly what they show. However, the way they show it, it doesn't take away from the word. It only magnifies it, really, when you get to see it. But why God will allow some things and won't allow other things, sometimes in the same category. But it's all for his glory. God is not just doing things just to be doing it. It's a purpose behind everything. And if all things are working together for our good, who love God and who are called by his purpose, then that means there's going to be some things that happen in my life, whereas in somebody else's life, he may have brought me through something, but somebody else may have gone through a similar situation, but the outcomes were different. And why he allows one and not the other is none of my business. I just have to trust God. I know that somehow you're working this out for my good. I don't like it. I don't understand it. But I love you and I know you love me, and you wouldn't have allowed it unless it was working together, not just for my good, not just for the purpose that you created me, but if they're lovers of God, it worked out for them too. It's working out for them too. We just can't see it all. And that's to our benefit. Because sometimes if we could really see the things that God was doing in our lives, we would probably mess it up. I know I would, because I'm always trying to control the things within my space, And sometimes we just have to come to a place, and really all the time, we need to be at a place of complete surrender to God. Not worry about what other people think and what other people are doing, but simply surrender to God and his will. Because people are always going to have something to say about the things that you do. But we need you to just show up. We need you to show up. You need you to show up. I heard Brene Brown. I know some of you may have heard of her, but I heard her give this quote, and it's so appropriate, especially we're in the time where the Olympics have occurred, and it's just been, and I haven't followed them. I just kind of see the blurbs and the things that kind of come up, but I heard her say this, and it just really struck me, because when you all hear it, those of you who have been ridiculed, those of you who have had to endure the persecution of the naysayers and all of that, and even felt bad about things yourself and what you thought that you weren't able to accomplish and do. I hope that this resonates with you, and that you can really find yourselves in a place where you know that we need you and God needs you to show up and just do it and stop being down on yourself. So this is a quote from Teddy Roosevelt, and it's called "The Man in the Arena." It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Again, that's Teddy Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt. And I just want to leave this with you. And this is in the words of the Apostle Paul. And this is Galatians 6, verses 9 through 10. And I'm reading this from the Message Bible. So let's not allow ourselves to get fatigued doing good. At the right time, we will harvest a good crop if we don't give up or quit. Right now, therefore, every time we get the chance, let us work for the benefit of all, starting with the people closest to us in the community of faith. So with that being said, I again am Sondra Louise. Life after the comma really does get better. And if you didn't do it earlier, go ahead and press that like button, share this video with somebody else, and subscribe to the channel. God bless you.